Hello! Welcome to the screencasting software that I've never tried before this moment. Let me also just extend this a little bit. There we go. I hope that wasn't disorienting for you. I wanted to try the screencasting software today because I wanted to use this opportunity to defend and rationalize my ideas here, but also to sort of walk you through specific moments that I have in mind. Look at each day, sort of put it into context, think about how I'm actually thinking about it as a teacher, and not just as like a theoretical thing. Um, and also to like comment on specific things that might not be explained as in depth on a schedule as they might be by a teacher in front of a classroom. As you'll see, just to start, this I'm sort of putting as assignment 3. They'll be remediating a personal narrative that they started the semester with in hopefully what is something similar to a first year 103 type course. I think this is an interesting opportunity where I'm trying to teach them a new and different way of composing, where I don't want to bombard them with doing this new composition style and doing something academic in a college context, because they're still learning how to do that. So I want them to sort of take on a tone that they think is appropriate to this text in its form, whether it's audio or visual, without having to worry about, like, am I doing the correct citation thing? Am I doing the correct academic tone thing in a video or an audio way? I don't want to bombard them. That may be not giving them enough credit, but I think that it is, at least for my purposes right now, an okay place to be. So I guess we can start by looking just at some goals that I just came up with. These are not the best goals I've ever made. These are not the most... these are not going to revolutionize education. But essentially, they're sort of getting at some core multimodal concepts, as well as giving the students just some practical tools they can do to create multimodal text in the future. So first and foremost, I want them to think about constraints and affordances in terms of crafting multimodal assignments, and I think off of that, the conversation will clearly go towards thinking of constraints and affordances of non-multimodal traditional academic texts, as well as to think about the context that might lend themselves to video and audio. This is really important to me. I'm sort of thinking of a lot of these opportunities to think of sort of the kairotic moment of multimodal assignments. Like when it would be a great time to do a multimodal thing. This is just sort of learn how to do the thing. And then this unit that I've created is sort of the prep for the creation of the text. This is the 2 and like 3/4 weeks up until I'll say, okay, now I want to draft in a week. So this is the preliminary stuff, the nuts and bolts, if you will. So I guess to get into the schedule itself, I'll show this note here so you can sort of see my thinking while I'm talking. I start with 2 texts that we actually read in our class that I've read before and that I find really helpful for students to think about their ideas. The ideas of multimodality. This day here, this starting with Yancey, with Made Not Only in Words. This is a tough text, I think, for a first-year class, as well as this one here. As I say in this section here, I'm a huge proponent of teaching comp theory in a comp class. I don't find it difficult to do. These 2 days here, they'll sort of be extensions of each other. Like this first week, I think my students are going to be doing a lot of similar things where we're asking ourselves these questions, where we're using Yancey to talk about Jones and Hafner. How do we remediate a text? How do we mediate ourselves through multimodal texts? How have we mediated ourselves through the form of like actual traditional text that we wrote to start the semester off? This is sort of hey, welcome to the wild, wild world of composition theory and rhetoric theory. Tear these pieces apart with one another. I think it's important to realize that this is about 30, 40-ish pages of text in a week. That's a lot, but the rest of the unit is very reading light. It's a lot of watching videos, reading short web pages. So this will sort of be the week where my students hate me for a little while, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. But the discussions in class are very much broken down. Like, half of the group will take half of a reading, the other half will take the other half of the reading, and we'll tear it apart as groups. That's sort of how I like to do these assignments, where it's very front-loaded. Like, here's a lot of crap that you might not have heard before. Don't worry, don't freak out. We're going to contextualize it with some easier-to-read, lighter things later on. And we're going to give you some strictly practical examples of the ideas that we were talking about in these highly complex texts. Week 2, after sort of like the hey, multimodality is a thing week, we look at some multimodal texts. I think you've talked about S-Town in class before, but if you're unfamiliar with it, it's the story of an NPR reporter who goes to a small town in what it's been about a year since I've listened to it, but I think it's rural Alabama, potentially. And it's just a fantastic text from when I used to listen to it that really, I think, portrays what a good audio essay / podcast is. We'll sort of think about how the text tells a story and how they were able to tell a story in their traditional text. And obviously just think about the differences between if you were creating an audio essay, what might you do differently in your written thing? If this was an author writing a traditional essay, what may they have changed or done differently? What were the affordances of audio? What were the constraints of audio? Just continuing conversations we were having earlier in the week with S-Town as an example, as well as this here, this audio essay tips. It's just a really nitty-gritty, here's how you make an audio essay website that I found that I really actually enjoyed reading. Not the most academic of things, but that's sort of on purpose to get them out of that academic week they started with. This is a video day. This is actually a video essay on Atlanta, the TV show, that I'll sort of ask them to critique as viewers. We'll sort of watch chunks and snippets of John Oliver's from his show Last Week Tonight. John Oliver's sort of teardown of Alex Jones, not as a content viewer, but as I guess, a rhetorical analyzer. They'll do a brief rhetorical analysis on this Atlanta text, as well as on this Alex Jones text. And I'll sort of use text and media and essay interchangeably throughout this to sort of show the muddied waters of multimodality. But these days will sort of work in conjunction with one another to help the students find out, hey, am I going to be remediating my original text as an audio essay or a video essay? And at first, I didn't want that to be a thing. I wanted this to be sort of create a multimodal thing. Whatever that looks like is what it looks like, and you're beautiful, and I love you all no matter what you do. And then I got to this day where it was workshop day, and I went, wait, if I'm having the students get together in pairs and read each other's scripts and talk about their deliverability and their clarity and how the story feels being read as a script, and a student brings something that is a piece of art, or a poem, or a drawing, a junk collection, that will be hard to draft, that will be hard to workshop in class. So for this thing, I got here and I revised this to say something along the lines of you should come with a revised script or draft of your text / project, to just say you should come with some sort of revised script. I think that, as I say in sort of this note here, The general idea of this unit is to teach multimodality through the concepts of an audio and a visual essay, video essay, excuse me. That can change, that could be done differently, but I think for this thing, I don't want to overload my 103 youngins with saying, bring me whatever you want just yet. So sort of follow up the workshop day, the script writing workshop day. We have a discussion of the software. I want to teach them at least something from the software. I'm familiar with Premiere Pro, I'm familiar with Audition and Audacity, so I'll just sort of utilize the software, use it in front of them. I'm clicking this button now to do this. I'm scrolling this thing to the right to do this. Look at these cool bars of audio as they go up and down. This is what this means. Just very basic things, providing them some time at the end of class to play. Just an opportunity to be like, hey, welcome to these cool softwares that are confusing sometimes, but fun to work on. I don't think I have anything here, but I think for readings, I might provide them optional readings, some like links to tutorials online. This, I'll even write it down right now. YouTube it. Look at the software you want to look at on YouTube. That could even potentially be homework for this day. I might actually add that before you see this again in your inbox. That I want them to YouTube some tutorials on their work. That's why I wanted to talk this out actually, so I could think if I liked everything I had. Yeah, so this, after that sort of, hey, here's a practical view of the day, we move into a workshop again where we are ideally, and I say ideally, in the digital writing studio, sitting there chatting with a tutor, talking about remediation, talking about digital texts with them. This will also potentially be the first time I let them in the class around me have that hands-on experience using the MacBooks that have these softwares on them. The computers in the library also have these softwares, so I'll make sure that's clear that they don't have to pay a penny for any of this if they don't want to. But this will be the first time that I know for a fact everyone in the class has sat in front of a computer with Premiere Pro, with Audition, with Audacity. So this is an important day. And I see the rest of this unit after, this is the end of this part of the unit, but after this part, we will be in the digital writing studio or somewhere with these softwares a lot. This is sort of the first hunker down, work in a place where I know for a fact you have everything you need. Fiddle with a thing. Just to sort of give you context for the rest of the unit, about a week and a half from this second workshop day, I'll expect a draft, and then 2 weeks out, I'll expect the final project. So overall, this is about a 5 to 7 week unit. And this is the first sort of 3 weeks of that unit, introducing them to multimodality, introducing them to the concepts, the tools they'll need to use, the idea of an audio and a visual essay, to get them thinking about what they need to say, what they need to do, and also to just sort of throw a lot at them, make them think, and then make them realize, hey, this isn't due for a couple weeks. Mull over these ideas, and then we'll get back to them. But yeah, overall, this is just my schedule that I have as of right now. Heavy workload up front in the reading department, followed by a little less reading work, into some more practical discussions, some workshops, and then ending the week with looking at some YouTube things, and then actually chatting with a tutor, forcing them to talk to each other. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Sorry about the audio here. I left my mic back in Indiana when I came home to Massachusetts. So I hope this wasn't grating and horrible on your ears. Thanks for listening, and I hope this didn't take up too much of your time. I figured it might be easier to watch me talk than read a thing a couple times. Thanks, Rory.